Energy costs. That's a major priority of the government, and the administration has implemented several initiatives over the past few years to foster a renewable energy sector. Between the pages on this Sunday's edition, we hear from the Energy Minister himself, Philip Paulwell. Then we put an area of growth and development on your TV screens. The business process outsourcing sector is not just about call centers. Welcome, I'm Adrian Atkinson, and this is Jamaica Magazine.
Hurricanes can strike at any time. In the event of one, be prepared to act quickly. If a hurricane watch or warning has been issued, review your home disaster response plan. Map out likely routes to evacuate if your home is at risk, and confirm with relatives or friends you plan to stay with. Also, confirm the location of the nearest shelter. Check your emergency supplies and restock if necessary. Remember, disasters do happen, so be prepared.
Being financially responsible while carrying out a program to improve Jamaica's economy continues to be one of the hallmarks of government. In June of this year, the government had a non-deal roadshow in the United States and Europe to tell stakeholders about Jamaica's progress under the economic reform program and boost investor confidence. That objective was achieved. On July 23, the government raised $2 billion through a bond offer, the highest ever in a single transaction.
This strong interest by the international capital markets demonstrates investors' confidence in Jamaica and specifically in the economic reform program and the various initiatives this administration has already implemented and which it plans to implement in the future.
It's not that we are borrowing more money and digging a deeper hole for ourselves. We really borrowed those funds in order to pay off a much larger debt.
So what's the purpose of the $2 billion? Well, $500 million will be used to make government bond payments of 62 billion Jamaican dollars. That's due in February 2016. That payout will give banks more money to lend to individuals and will drive a reduction in interest rates. The remaining $1.5 billion of the $2 billion raised on the international capital markets was used to fund the Petrocaribe debt buyback. Let's break down the issue. Under the Petrocaribe agreement, Jamaica pays Venezuela upfront for a portion of the oil it receives from the country. If the oil price exceeds $40 per barrel, Jamaica should pay Venezuela the remainder of the money 25 years after at an interest rate of 1% per year. Now, Jamaica and Venezuela formally entered into the Petrocaribe agreement in 2005. That means Jamaica would not need to pay for a portion of the oil it received in 2005 until 2030. But things happen, and each country has to adjust its economic plans to suit its current needs. So Venezuela said, Jamaica, if you buy back or pay off your debt under the Petrocaribe agreement before the deadline in 2030, you will receive a discount.
So we can take approximately $1.5 billion US and buy back approximately $3 billion US of debt from Petrocaribe from Venezuela. So you're really, in a way, buying back the debt pretty cheaply.
And so the government took up Venezuela's offer, using the $1.5 billion we spoke about earlier to clear arrears as at December 2014.
These transactions, which were successfully completed, are for and will be to the benefit of the Jamaican people.
Here's why. Point number one.
Our debt service will be lower by just under $300 million over the life of the transaction.
Point two.
These transactions together allow for a reduction in the nominal debt stock. This is contrary to the notion that has been posited in some circles that the government is increasing the country's debt.
Point 3 relates to the ratio of Jamaica's debt to gross domestic product GDP.
This transaction has the effect of lowering the debt to GDP ratio by approximately 10%.
And it is going to allow us to achieve the March 2017 debt to GDP target of 127%, 20 months early. So this is a major accomplishment and a major benefit to the country from the Petrocaribe deal.
And point 4,
the reduction in the debt to GDP ratio and the improvement in the country's risk profile means better interest rates, not just for Jamaica, but for all investors wanting to invest in Jamaica.
In addition, the Petrocaribe Development Fund, which was saving money and investing in projects to pay Venezuela when the oil debt payments were originally due in 2030, will now be required to pay Jamaica's central government.
The payments from the Petrocaribe Development Fund will allow further the government to improve the services that the government provides.
The government of Jamaica, acting on strategic priority number 1, being financially responsible while pursuing policies to improve the economy.
A few weeks ago, all the major headlines read, debt buyback. It was all about government's decision to pay off a portion of the debt owed for oil to the Venezuelan government. Was it a good move? This week on Issues, Minister Philip Paulwell explains how the Petrocaribe Fund works and why Jamaica has to remain energy savvy. He's next with Ian Boyne.
Thanks for joining us for another edition of Issues and Answers. I'm Ian Boyne. You've been hearing a lot about the Petrocaribe Agreement. Well, we have with us today the Minister of Science, Technology, Energy and Mining, the Honourable Philip Paulwell. He'll be talking to us about the agreement as well as about the conference that will take place in Jamaica, 10th anniversary of the Petrocaribe Agreement. And a conference will take place in Montego Bay, a very important conference, which the Minister will be telling us about. We thank you for your company. Minister, good to have you on Issues.
Great to be back.
And Answers. 10 years since the Petrocaribe Agreement. And you were present at the creation. In fact, you're the only surviving Minister of Energy who was present when Petrocaribe came into existence in 2005.
Yes, I was pretty much, very much there, involved from the outset. The conference was actually held in Montego Bay, and Jamaica was one of the first countries to sign a bilateral arrangement flowing from the agreement. And so it's very significant that the team, the various member states, and it has grown from 12 to 19, that they will be back in Jamaica, to celebrate 10 years. And you'll recall that from the outset, people were saying that this couldn't last. It couldn't last a year. Couldn't last after the death of President Hugo Chavez.
That's right.
It has survived even that. And we therefore have to start by expressing our appreciation to the Venezuelan people and government, President Chavez and now President Maduro, for maintaining what for me is the most important beneficial bilateral arrangement that Jamaica has with any country in the world.
Tell us the essential elements of the Petrocaribe Agreement between Jamaica and Venezuela.
Well, the agreement enables Jamaica to procure energy products, crude oil primarily, but other finished products, totaling about 23,000 barrels per day. In fact, it started off with 21,000 barrels a day. We were able to convince the Venezuelans to increase that to 23,500, and it allows us to pay, if the price of oil is below $100, 60% upfront. You pay for the product up to 60%, and then the 40% that you keep as part of a loan, a financing arrangement that you pay off over 25 years at 1% interest rate. If the price of oil is over $100, then you pay 50% for the product, and then you retain 50% of the price and it is established, it is put into this Petrocaribe Development Fund, which is established under law, and it has been used to do so many different things. So that, in essence, has been the main features of the agreement, and of course, all the member states have similar features.
So Jamaica would be in a far worse situation economically if it had to pay the market price.
Well, there are many
for
pundits,
petroleum products.
Yes, there are many economists who believe that the Jamaican economy would have been far more severely ravaged during the recession of 2008, 2010, that we couldn't survive as an economy without that. Because, recently we were able to wipe out the debt that has been accumulated. That was accumulated, $3.2 billion US. So that's the amount up to the end of last year that we were able to retain during the period of this agreement. $3.2 billion US that we didn't have to pay out. Can you imagine the drain on our
your balance of payments,
and the pressure on the dollar?
On the dollar.
Right, so you would have seen far more devaluation and we would have been under severe stress as an economy. So this really has been a fundamental, one of the fundamental reasons why we have survived as an economy.
But how sustainable is this, Minister? Because as conditions in Venezuela change economically and politically, isn't the viability of this under threat?
Well, no, not really. And again, from day one, it was opposed internally in Venezuela and elsewhere. The fact is that we are also guaranteeing Venezuela a market for products. And yes, you can say that the market exists elsewhere, but also I think it enables Venezuela to really demonstrate its kindness to its neighbors and to ensure that those around it have stable existence.
But domestic populations, Minister, don't think in those geopolitical terms when they are feeling the pressure,
And that's the risk that the Venezuelan government since 2005 have embraced. This, they feel, is something that is worthy. And there is a philosophical and ideological underpinning, which brings me now to one of the other aspects of the meeting of the heads that will take place in Montego Bay on the 5th of September, and then the opening of the Simon Bolivar Center in Kingston on the 6th, because that famous letter from Jamaica,
Jamaican letter
200 years ago, the Jamaican letter, sets out the basis for Petrocaribe. And it is out of that the concept of South Cooperation was developed. And I can say to you that rather than Petrocaribe being in doubt under the current regime in Venezuela, I am confident that it's going to be sustained and even deepened into a new concept of an economic zone embracing all the member states.
We'll follow up on that deepening when we come back. Minister of Science, Technology, Energy and Mining, the Honorable Philip Paul, will talking to us about the benefits of the Petrocaribe Agreement, as well as the upcoming conference, which begins next Saturday, September 5th. We take a break, but we'll be right back.
This is Diane Edwards from JamPro. Stay tuned, you're watching Issues and Answers on Jamaica Magazine with Ian Boyne.
Fiscal consolidation.
The centerpiece of the program has been the need to reduce our debt.
Business reform.
Make sure that we transform Jamaica to make it a place to do business easily.
New and existing businesses will benefit from streamlined regulations and processes.
And pursuing strategic investments while protecting the most vulnerable.
The path we're on is the right path.
The economy in Jamaica is turning.
The fact that the international community is once again lending to Jamaica says something about their confidence in our policies.
it is now time to actually stay the course, not to lose the benefits of the hard decisions that have been made.
The Jamaican government is committed to continuing the process of reform.
The government of Jamaica is on a mission, going for growth, staying the course and transforming the economy through its economic reform program.
Science, Technology, Energy and Mining Minister, Honorable Philip Paulwell, spending time with us on Issues and Answers, talking to us about the Petrocaribe agreement. Minister, you had talked at the break about the broadening of this agreement. So,
yes.
so you, rather than seeing this under immediate threat,
yes.
you are seeing a broadening of the agreement.
Deepening, widening, broadening.
Tell us what
agreement.
has been happening.
And let me just remind you that one of the aspects of the agreement is what we call the trade compensation mechanism. And Jamaica is benefiting from it. For example, for the last 15, 18 months, we have been paying on the debt using sales to Venezuela of clinker, one of the products out of the cement company. And we're also expanding that to do other things like sale of fertilizer. Now, that aspect has worked so well that in further contemplation, the Venezuelans and ourselves were agreed that we could now look at deepening this process into an economic zone. So it is not only on petroleum products that you focus on, but you look to see what are the products, not only products, what are the services that are available in member states and how we can trade together, which is, again, the concept of South-South cooperation and deepening integration of the
more
economies.
Opportunities will be opened up to Jamaican business.
Absolutely. So that is going to be a strong message coming out of the conference next week. We also believe that travel is a major problem, communication and travel, that it is too difficult for us to get to each other in the region. For me to get to Venezuela, I have to go via Miami to Venezuela, and I have to spend a day traveling. That doesn't all go well. So we have to use the technology more to interface, but there has to be more direct travel. Another important aspect of this arrangement and the further deepening of the relationship has to do with an insertion in the Petrocaribe agreement that there will be a major objective of transforming the energy landscape across the region, and to see how we could place, how we could rely less on the traditional fossil fuel and to transform into using renewables and other fuels. So that is significant because Venezuela is in the business of selling fossil fuel, and the fact that they were able to embrace this, I think, shows their good intent. And that also will be featured when we meet next week. In fact, Jamaica, as you know, we are going through that transformation as we speak. The energy landscape in Jamaica has been changing dramatically over time. We are very pleased today that the price of electricity is down by 30% in 2012. When I became minister, we were at 42 cents. We are now at 26 cents. I still believe that we can get to between 15 and 18 cents, and at that time, we are going to become truly competitive. And we are seeing the changes happening on the renewable side. Again, out of the Petrocaribe funds, we were able to invest in Wigton wind farm. We now generate about 48 megawatts. We are now expanding that by 24 megawatts. And then an American company, BMR, they are investing $90 million into 36 megawatts of wind capacity in St. Elizabeth. And also, very importantly, another American company, WRB, they are investing $60 million in the single largest solar farm, 20 megawatts of renewable energy in Content, Clarendon. And while all of this is going on, we're very pleased that the President of the United States visited Jamaica, because out of that and through the negotiated MOU that I signed with the Secretary of Energy, the Americans now finally have opened their market for the exportation of liquefied natural gas to non-NAFTA countries. And Jamaica is the first country to benefit from this. And
development.
That's a massive development, because We have been trying to get LNG to Jamaica for many years. We've had many hiccups.
That's true.
But the fact is that we have never had a gas supplier before now. And the Americans having granted this export license, that for me is the sea change that we've been searching for. And it's going to start with the Bogue plant in Montego Bay, but it's also going to extend to the 190 megawatt project that ESET is pursuing. And going forward, we are going to see the gradual transformation of our energy from the use of liquids, heavy fuel oil and diesel, to gas and renewables. And that is going to enable us to achieve our 15 to 18 cent target.
So the government is not being complacent in light of the declining prices for petroleum products.
The government
You're
is
moving
not,
on renewables.
People who know me, it is relentless. We are going to achieve those objectives, and despite the respite in the price of oil coming down, we hope that it will remain down for a long time. But we know, as we saw in the 80s, that eventually the price will go back up. So we can't be complacent. We have to transform, finally, our energy landscape, and I think we are truly on that path.
And there's a strong connection between our being able to transform the landscape and our being able to generate the kind of growth that Jamaica needs.
Absolutely. Without the transformation in our energy system, our economy will not grow, because whether you're producing goods or doing services, energy is probably the most crucial element in all of that. And the price coming down, now we're seeing growth in our economy. We now have to sustain that and to see greater growth coming over the next number of years. So I think we're at a good place, and we need to give thanks to the Almighty, we need to give thanks to the Venezuelan, and we have to work now to make sure the policy is fully implemented.
Thanks for the report card, Minister of Science, Technology, Energy and Mining, talking to us about the Petrocaribe agreement as well as the Petrocaribe conference, which gets underway next week, Saturday, September 5th, as well as to give us information on what has been happening with Jamaica's energy landscape. We thank you for your company. Until next week, Ian Bourne wishing you a pleasant day.
My view is that you can create 3 million square feet of office space tomorrow, and they will be filled.
Coming up, we highlight another area of growth in the country. We're putting the spotlight on the fast-growing business process outsourcing sector.
Let's celebrate Jamaica to the world. Fastest man in the world. First Jamaican woman to win gold in Olympic 100-meter sprint. An upcoming global superstar. Mouth-watering meals. And a vibrant set of people. We are Jamaicans. Let's get together and bring back the love.
Business process outsourcing, or BPO, involves engaging a third-party service provider to do specific business functions. This means companies overseas can hire local entities to handle certain aspects of their business, such as customer service call centers. Other functions include general office operations like accounting and human resource management. Jamaica has a competitive edge in this sector due to its geographic location, the ability of nationals to speak English, and the educational qualifications of citizens. Within the past few years, government has been capitalizing on this to formalize the sector. The main point of support comes from the Ministries of Technology, Industry and Education, collaborating with the private sector representative group, the Business Process Industry Association of Jamaica, BPIAJ. Members of the BPO industry benefit from several incentives under the free zone regime, including income tax relief on profit earnings and duty-free importation of machinery and tools used in their operations, such as computers. There is also direct monetary support, such as the Development Bank of Jamaica's commitment of $23 million in loan to the ICT and BPO sectors this fiscal year. All these interventions have supported the current environment of about 40 BPO companies operating in Jamaica. These entities account for approximately 14,000 jobs, but government's goal is to add hundreds more as part of the strategic priority for economic growth. In October 2014, a $195,000 contract was signed to roll out new business process outsourcing BPO facilities in Montego Bay. A month prior to that, $6 million was invested in the construction of a BPO facility in Portmore, St. Catherine. Both of these private sector-driven developments represent the latest result of government-supportive policies to encourage an expanded BPO sector in Jamaica.
The commitment is there from the government in all the areas that needs to be addressed as we move forward to ensure that the sector not only remain alive but thrive and is sustainable going forward.
As evidenced by the Mobay and Portmore developments, government is well on its way to achieving its BPO goals. The contract between the BPIAJ and Columbus Business Solutions means the creation of an incubator for business operators who wish to operate from the Montego Bay Free Zone. The incubator, which is slated to become fully operational by December 2014, is designed to fast-track the entry of new BPO companies, providing hundreds of jobs. As for the 40,000 square foot BPO facility in Portmore, it's expected to provide thousands of jobs during the construction phase, while another 550 persons are estimated to be employed during the startup phase.
Space has been our major failing, and the space is not going to be provided by the government. My view is that you can create 3 million square feet of office space tomorrow and they will be filled. But it requires from entrepreneurs that element of risk.
Jamaica and the business process outsourcing sector, a partnership that's poised to make the island the outsourcing hub of the Caribbean, a partnership that supports government strategic priority for job creation and economic growth.
Preparations in the last few days before school reopens can sometimes be frustrating. If you're still hunting for those deals, here are some pointers to consider. Conduct an inventory. Examine uniforms, books, pencils, and other school supplies used by your children last term to see how many are still in good condition for the new year. You could find that instead of 5 sets of uniform, you only need 2, and that is money saved for other expenses. Also, check with friends and relatives to see if they have some of the items you need. For example, a tie, a crest, or textbooks from a student who's already graduated the school your child is about to attend. Remember, leave out early. Yes, Granny was right with this one. The early bird truly catches the most worms. Or better deals. So, be at those store doors early, or use the option some stores offer of faxing or emailing the book list to confirm what's in stock and available prices or deals. Always examine. Examine and yes, examine. It's never a good feeling to purchase on the rush, only to get home and realize that the item was defective or not what you needed. And one final reminder, keep all those receipts. Trust me, on this one, all the best. This week's quote: procrastination is the art of keeping up with yesterday. A funny but practical quote from poet Don Marquis. Thanks for watching, and don't forget, we value your feedback, so drop us a line. Send an email to Jamaica Magazine at jis.gov.jm. You may also follow us on Twitter at JIS News and click on our YouTube channel, Watch JIS. For this show and loads of other videos and features, on behalf of the entire team here at the JIS, I'm Adrian Atkinson. Thanks for watching and happy Sunday.
This has been a production of the Jamaica Information Service, the voice of Jamaica.